We are still talking Star Wars, and we're going through the much hated. A little bit, people have come back and they've learned to like these movies, but mostly hated Star Wars prequels. We're talking Attack of the Clones. Now, anyone that ever saw the original 3 episodes 4, 5, and 6, when they were only 4, 5, and 6, any mention of the Clone Wars got you excited. You wanted to know, you had to know more insight. Anything the novels brought up, anything the comic books brought up. This was a closely guarded backstory that Lucas only allowed a few people to even mention because he wanted to handle it. And here we go. We're talking the Clone Wars. Let's do this. I am telling you, every single time I watch this movie, it takes me back. It takes me back to 2002. I was still aggressive about breaking into comics, working with anyone. And at the time, I was developing The Eyes of Asia with Ken Hazer, who is still in the game. I think he's doing a couple things. I'm not too sure. Shout out to Ken if he's listening. I still love you, buddy. And everything was marching towards this. Okay? Being, involved with something creative. Ken and Hazer, we were developing our own book called The Eyes of Asia. It was going to be put out by Digital Webbing. Ended up being, distributed. It did okay. Did well. And just like working at the mall, working at a comic shop, dating girls that went to the mall, that worked in the mall, that was a lot of fun. Drawing all the time. I really didn't party that much, didn't drink that much, but I was locked in, and having things to look forward to with a creative partner is such a rare thing. And always, to me, Attack of the Clones represents that. It also represents this monumental spoiler, because when I worked at the comic shop, I could get things for a discount. And I remember buying packs of the trading cards because I always loved trading cards. And one of the trading cards, now look, we're talking Anical News was the center for all spoilers. There wasn't much of a news sphere when it came from when it came to like movie news. It was really Anical News and Chud.com. And so spoilers and all these things, they leaked out. Normally, they were not true. It was hard to verify sources. Nowadays, Nowadays, we get full leaks, and you can establish yourself as an insider by documenting how accurate your leaks are. And we saw a lot out of Rise of Skywalker. Rise of Skywalker validated a lot. And I give a lot of people credit for that exact thing. So I get this pack of trading cards, and it depicts Anakin Skywalker with one arm. I think it was lying on his back. This is after Count Dooku sliced off his arm. And I showed it to Ken. I said, look, you have to see this, okay? Because this is not the Phantom Menace. This is going to be a different movie. This is going to be the type of movie we want it to be. This Boba Fett guy, the Jango Fett, no one knew anything at the time. He's going to be amazing. We have, more with Mace Windu. Again, according to, like, trailers and some of the merchandise. We're going to get this battle. We're getting the origin of the Clone Wars. This movie will be different. And I showed him that card, and he was so upset, so disappointed with the spoiler. But to me, it represented that this movie was making a bet. It was making a bet and connecting it to the original 3. And they were, again, they were echoing one another. So, watched the movie. I saw the movie maybe 2-3 times in the theater. I remember seeing it at midnight. It was packed theater. At Lions Head Plaza, the Cinemark in New Jersey, Magnolia, New Jersey. And this movie never flowed. It never stuck with me. I always appreciated the action and the speed of the ending. I hated everything with Kamino, anything with the cloning, anything with Jango Fett. I hated Obi-Wan Kenobi's somewhat like sleuth, like detective quest. I never understood the Alpha Diaz, the one character, the Count Dooku character, how they were related to the Sith. Like all of these things, like like this movie goes into like the origin of these clones. I never bought into it. Never. I thought it was way overshot. Too like in its own head. Too thought out. And then the years go on. I think some of you might know where I'm going with this. The years go on. And I look at movies of this nature very differently. I try and ask myself, what am I supposed to do here? What am I supposed to feel? What do I expect next? And I sat down and I watched this movie about 3 times in a single week. Oh, by the way, Happy New Year, everyone. Happy New Year. It's 2020. And when I sat down, I say this a lot now. I couldn't remember how this movie opened. The beginning of this movie. I forgot what I did not like about this movie. I only really remembered the ending. And I watched this movie and I had a different lens. It didn't make it grossly better. It just made it different. And to me, this is a huge improvement over The Phantom Menace, which is a complete disaster of a movie. And it crystallized the concept within me that these prequels are progressively better than the last. And, sometimes it's just a level. It's just a step. They're not epically better. They're not creatively much better. I will go on and on. Revenge of the Sith did not have to butt up to A New Hope like it did. It did not, and it should never have. And major issue with the ending of Revenge of the Sith. But this movie, it's light, and again, I say this a lot. It moves, it keeps you kind of engaged, and it gives you Star Wars-like things, right? I guess it gives you aliens, it gives you spaceships, it gives you a couple cool fights. But these are the fundamental problems people have with the prequels. I think even to this day, they're trying to figure out exactly what the prequels are. And I have to say, so am I. But look, everyone, give this movie another shot, though. Give this movie a second look and just try and sit down and view it with new eyes, with some different insight, with different expectations, because it is a complete story. It is part love story. It is the origin of the clones, and it's our first venture into the Clone Wars, and that's going to go right into our next episode, because if you like Samurai Jack, Greg Tartakovsky, I always butcher his last name. The Cartoon Network at the time did these like very short, 2 to 5 minute long short. I think they were like maybe 5 to 6 minutes long. These 5-minute shorts, they might have been I'm going to do some research. They might have been released once a week, and they comprised of this like 80-minute Clone War cartoon that went deeper into the Jedi, what was happening with the Jedi, how the Jedi handled these, different power sets of the Jedis, just cool stuff. And this brought Star Wars back. It really sustained the taste. And we talked about this with the Terminator, with the Ex Machina series that they kind of used to wet the whistle, to sustain a little bit of the audience and build the anticipation going into Salvation. Now, we said that Chronicles of Riddick did this, Van Helsing did this, and actually Star Wars also did this. They used a major network, they used one of the biggest talents in the game, and they trickled it out, and it came out as a complete DVD. Actually had a toy line, but this leading into the Clone Wars cartoon, 2D cartoon series. It's phenomenal, and we're going to go into that because that is as important to the prequels as the Ewok movies were important to the original trilogy and Return of the Jedi. And that's because it expands the universe. It bleeds out the ideas. It brings it further. This is not easy stuff to do. Whenever you're asked to come in on top of someone else, it is the hardest thing to do, and it takes nothing but courage to tell a story that you want to tell, but it's also someone else's story too. I'm sorry, it takes balls. But look, everyone, next episode 271 will be The Clone Wars by the Cartoon Network. Let's rock and roll. I love you, and thanks for hanging out.